The Bus Driver by Daniel Brown. The enormous rattling of the number 4 bus into the village almost shattered his skull as he leaned against the window. Every fucking time, he muttered to himself as he reeled his shaken brain from the pain, the vibration oscillating inside him. He'd been on the bus for 6 or 7 minutes now, and the driver still had not returned. He could not remember if the driver, a large, jolly-looking fat man with a balding head, had announced that he was going to the toilet, or if there was going to be a change of drivers for the next shift. It would take a megaphone to be clearly heard over the shuddering of the chassis and the cacophony of the other passengers. It was nigh on impossible to hear yourself think, let alone hear an important announcement by the operator of your only way home. John hated his job. He especially hated it when his shift finished at 3 p.m, requiring him to share the bus with rowdy, energetic pre-teens and teenagers who drove him to near breaking point every time. They talked and they shouted and they screamed, and he was sure that they made fun of him, calling him names in hushed whispers, pointedly loud enough to grab his attention. And then there's the ancient, doddering old biddies who thought the world owed them everything. The mothers with babies who cry and scream at soul-searing frequencies and take up 2 seats at a time and half the bus with their mammoth prams. He'd noticed that these innumerable disturbances were making him irritable. The driver, or whoever it was to take his place, had still not arrived. A text message on his phone buzzed in his trouser pocket, which he angrily opened up. His heart fluttered. It was Sarah, a woman at work he'd just started seeing, a bright spark in his otherwise miserable day.
Sorry, John. I don't think this will work out. I hope you understand.
John stares at his phone in a state of shock. The cacophony of the bus and its occupants rises up to an impossible white noise, and something snaps inside him. Suddenly, he's rising out of his seat, almost on autopilot. He walks to the front of the bus, he hits the emergency close button of the doors and gets into the driver's seat. The bus is silent for a moment. The little bus driver's booth feels like an oasis of calm. He notices the jolly round driver walking towards the bus in the rearview mirror. This startles him into action, and with a rising sense of excitement, he tries the key in the ignition, forgetting briefly that the bus was already started, and the engine shudders off. The driver's jolly walk turns to a worried half-walk, and then to a run as he sees what's happening. His shouting alerts the passengers, who erupt in scandalised laughter. He turns the key the right way this time, and the bus returns to life. The driver reaches the door and bangs on it loudly, like a captive chimpanzee. The bus pulls away from the station to the loud cheers and applause of the passengers, and the red-faced fury of the former driver, growing small and pathetic in the rearview mirror. What to do now, he thinks to himself. Electricity surging through his body. He drives through the traffic lights, concentrating on the road and wondering where to go with his new bus. The day feels somehow like it has a different quality of light, and rather than his usual sense of being a pitiful, furious bin bag blown through various horrible locations by winds of unknown origin, he now feels powerful, helpful, and connected to the world of possibilities. He opens the window and experiences an unusually warm breeze. He smells unseen flowers. This reverie is burst by a shrill dinging sound. He looks in the mirror and he sees a tiny old white-haired lady who he always saw on the bus in her trademark anorak and headscarf. He smiles to himself, forgetting why he was even there, and stops at the next bus stop. The old lady took an age, but finally walked past him and thanked him for getting her home, smiling at him as she got off. Not bad for an OAP, he thought. He realised he had instinctively driven along the bus route. He had dropped down onto Tudor Road, past the civic centre, and all the way round his village. Several dings, an hour and a dozen dropped-off passengers later, he concluded that he would drive back to the depot and walk to Sarah's place to hash it out with her. However, pulling into the station, he felt a strange sensation on his head and in his stomach, as if the former were lighter and the latter were heavier. As he parked, he glanced in the mirror and saw himself, but it wasn't him. His hairline had receded, his waist and chest had expanded, and his clothes had changed. He was no longer in his work clothes, but he was wearing a blue button shirt with sleeves rolled up, jet black polyester trousers and black brogues. His shirt bore the embroidered logo of the bus company on the pocket. As he stares at this new person in the mirror, more passengers queue outside the bus, and a bin bag billows in the summer breeze, past the bus, and is thrown aloft, disappearing over the horizon. He opens the door, accepting the passengers onto the bus. He pulls out of the station, and he will begin the route again.